Hello, everyone. Welcome to our June edition of the Product Ops virtual meetup. I can't believe that we are already in June and almost halfway through the year. So for those who don't know me yet, I'm Anna, and I'm your community manager here at Product Ops HQ, and I'm joining you from Portugal. So I'm really happy to be here with you all today. So we will have a couple of more minutes for everyone to join. But while we wait, please feel free to tell us in the chat where you are. And I will be introducing our topic and our theme in just a minute. With me today is also Leah from the Dragon Boat team, and she will be in the chat sharing some helpful resources while we go, and also answering some of your quick questions. So I'm going to check who's here with us today, team. So we have people from Munich, London, Denver, India, London,
Nice.
Ireland. This is great. We have people from all around the world, which is super nice. So I'm seeing some familiar faces here, some new ones as well. So for those who are new to our community here, welcome. The Product Ops HQ is your go-to space to connect, share some ideas and experience, and grow together. So if you haven't joined our Slack yet, now it's a great time. Leah is going to drop an invite link in the chat. So please join us there. We are more than 1,015 members already. And as you can see in the chat, we are from all over the world. So thank you all for making this such a great and global community. So before we dive in, I just want to make some quick housekeeping notes. So today's session will be all about scaling product ops into a strategic powerhouse. And we will have an amazing guest speaker who's with me here, and I will introduce you in just a minute, followed by a live Q&A. So please, while our amazing speaker talks, feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A. Or if you want to, or if you prefer, and I really invite you to do that, you can also raise your hand. And once we reach the live Q&A, I can unmute you and you can ask your question live to our speaker. And last but not least, we are recording this session and we will share the replay with all of you. So I think that's all in terms of housekeeping. I think we already have a good amount of people joining us. So let's keep things moving. But first, a quick word from our sponsor. So our sponsor, as you all might already know, is Dragon Boat. Dragon Boat is an AI-powered strategic portfolio management platform. I'm sorry, this is hard to tell. And it is designed for everyone in a product operating model, from CPOs to product managers, product ops, and your teams. So it will help you set clear strategies, build portfolio roadmaps, and deliver products that delight customers and accelerate business outcomes. Dragon Boat is more than just a platform. They are also your partner in achieving product operating excellence, which of course includes building and sponsoring our community of strategic product operations professionals. So if you want to learn more about Dragon Boat, please check out dragonboat.io. Leah is going to drop, she actually dropped now, the link in the chat. And with that, I'm really happy to introduce you to today's speaker. So today's speaker is Timothée Choplin, and is the Senior Director and Head of Product Planning and Operations at Criteo. Is actually turning over 10 years in the company, so congratulations, Timothée. And over the past 4 years, he's helped shape and scale their product ops function into what he calls now a product strategic office. So he's happy to share a little bit about this journey with us today. So Timothée, thank you again for joining us and for sharing your journey. I think the stage is all yours now.
Great. Thank you, Anna, for this great introduction and for giving me the opportunity to share about my story for like Product Ops HQ. I'm like super honored and excited to be with you all today. So in terms of agenda, I will introduce myself. I will talk a bit about my journey, and I will give a bit of context about, my company Criteo and what makes it unique. And then we will deep dive into the product operations function at Criteo, the why and the what, and what makes the team and function impactful, today. That's for the agenda. And so, all right, a bit about me. The first thing first, as you can hear, I am French. I am based in Paris, and I lead, of course, the product operations at Criteo. And today I lead a team in product, but I've started to consider myself a product person only a few years ago. I have started my career in consulting, doing mostly transformation programs, both in the private and public sector. And I have joined Criteo now 10 years ago, and I had like multiple lives, like really multiple roles. I have started as a sales operations analyst in the global sales operations team. And I soon started to build a small team called Sales Effectiveness. And the mission was really to drive sales effectiveness with, processes and tools and frameworks. So this was about project managing, commercial transformation projects, defining and deploying sales processes, owning, business processes in Salesforce, etc. And after a few years with, a mature team now built, I wanted to change. I wanted to be closer to the actual strategy of the company and, what we built, what we said, etc. And so I had the opportunity to join a new go-to-market function, bridging the execution between product and commercials. And at this moment, the company was facing new challenges and was really evolving. Like we had a new CEO, we had new leaders, and one of these change was to hire a chief product officer that was, not in the company, we're missing for like a few years. And this has been a big, a deep evolution for the company, putting product even more at the center, unifying all product teams under one leader, and progressively building a very strong product vision and product strategy, for the company. So back to me, I've moved to, being the chief of staff for our new chief product officer, and then quickly decided together to create a dedicated product operations function. And I'm gonna come back to that, of course, in a minute. Just a bit of context about Criteo. That's the next slide. Cool. Thank you. So very quickly about Criteo, just to set a bit the context. It's a global ad tech. It's listed, at Nasdaq. It was founded in Paris in 2005. It's really one of the greatest success, in the French tech. And we have 25 offices globally. We have like 3,000 and a half employees. And we provide digital advertising solutions and technologies for, a variety of brands, agencies, retailers everywhere. And what makes it uh, really special is that we have one of the largest tech team in Europe with a very, very, very strong innovation culture, generally speaking, in the company. And the second thing I would say that it's big, but it's not big enough to have local teams for all functions. So many teams that have a central function really work with a global scope and a global impact, etc. So that's about it for like Criteo, and just to set a bit the context. So I think we can move to the next one. And so why we built product operations. So we are end of 2020. We have product at Criteo becomes one team again, but the reality that it's a fragmented product organization. Most of product functions and teams work a bit independently, and at this moment, Criteo is that it's on its path to becoming a multi-product company. But the product organization, the operating model, the rituals were distributed, not always consistent, etc. And so I'll be honest, I've started the team and called it product operations as a Swiss Army knife, okay? Like a very small project team at the beginning in charge of structuring the overall product operating model. It was not like a consistent function with clear and delimited missions and scope. I've built the team and the function very progressively, hiring 2 to 3 people per year, and step by step structuring and then taking ownership of a variety of pieces. So the first big thing we were facing in terms of challenge and that we had to build was having a planning rhythm. So we had to define like really the basics. What is a product roadmap at Criteo? How we want to structure it, from a technical version to support product and R&D, operational work, to a version that is aimed at more broader consumption, to communicate at a different level of the organization, etc. So we had to define end-to-end the building of the process of building this roadmap, from the step when you define the product strategy, align with business strategy, how you translate this strategy into a roadmap, which is more the how you deliver on this ambition, working with finance, so you articulate the financial planning with the roadmap, revenue targets associated with the product delivery that are planned quarter after quarter. Work with engineering program managers on the capacity planning, the development planning, the release, etc. And work with like commercial leadership on how to build the corresponding go-to-market plans. So of course it's a lot, and this was not built like in 1 year. Like, to be clear, we've improved year after year, like this end-to-end approach, and we've made significant progress, but we still continue to adjust and improve the end-to-end strategic planning. So that's the first a big challenge. The second big area of work was the overall product operating model, or like we can call it like some sort of product governance. Planning is one thing, but once you have like a roadmap that is planned, you need to like deliver on it. And so my team was in charge of creating and running the rituals to deliver on this roadmap. And so to be clear, we have like engineering program managers at Criteo, okay, who are in charge of the overall R&D planning and delivery. So we partner closely with this team, at all steps. And in product operations, we focus on building and running product rituals to coordinate all work streams across products, go-to-market, R&D, a team that we call practices that are like the strategic commercial functions bridging between, regions and product, and potentially other teams, like you can have like finance, internal IT, billing, etc., a variety of, dependencies to like a product roadmap. So in the end, in this second, big challenge, we operate a pivotal, a strategic product governance to connect streams, to connect milestones, to clear risks, to drive, decision making, etc. So that was the second one. And the third, big thing I would mention in terms of challenge and, fundamental that we had to build was about product methodologies and frameworks. So you're again like one level deeper into the execution. We start with like strategic planning. You move to like the how you deliver on the planning with like product governance and program management, and then you're like at the more the how you equip day to day your product function with the right framework, the right process, the right tool. And when I created the team, like to give you an example, Jira was almost not used in product. Like it was almost used only in R&D. We had no like standard approach for product requirements. We had no like PRD document, the product requirement document typically, like and no standards, no template for that. Roles and responsibilities across teams were not always consistent, were not always standardized, etc. So we had no clear shared product, life cycle. And so again, step by step, piece by piece, we have created those foundations for PMs. And I can tell you that we have failed and learned like many times. It requires a lot of humility. I'll talk about like this change management aspect a bit later in the presentation. So that was the third, big pillar and big challenge and how to address it that we had when we created, the function back, 4 to 5 years ago. So in the next slides, let's talk a bit about what we do today in 2025 with product operations and how it has evolved. So today, product operations is a team of 11 project and program managers. We have evolved a lot in the past 12 months, structuring the strategic program track by product area. I am convinced that developing a deep, like a specific, product expertise and knowledge brings actually a lot of value to this role. And this strategic program track represents most of the team today. The role itself is structured around three big missions. First of all, it's a business partner role. So we are co-pilots for, head of products, for like everything related to corporate planning. Just checking if it's all good on the presentation. Looks like we have no, all good. So yeah, I was on this first mission, business partner role, being the co-pilot for head of products, for basically everything that is related to corporate planning, roadmap tracking, stakeholders alignment, etc. That's the first one. The second is that we orchestrate and we drive the product planning process. So again, with like a variety of different stakeholders. And it goes from, like I said, enabling product strategy definition, translating into a delivery roadmap. It requires like all this, cross-functional work and coordination. And third, for again on this, strategic program track, for the most like critical and complex product roadmap topic, we really position ourselves as project managers, like program managers, structuring the program, like the project end to end, streams, monitoring, the progress, risks, driving decision making, mitigation plan, etc., and driving the overall project governance, like we potentially steercos, opcos, etc. So that's the mission for this, strategic program track. And the second track, product excellence, is something that we are building right now. It is something that we did in the past, but let's say that it was, it was not the focus of the past, 18 months. And now we are relaunching this area with, a renewed, I would say, ambition. So this is of course related to what I was referring to, in the previous slides. We equip our PM function with the best methodology and tool to streamline, to optimize efficiency, day to day of the product management function. And today we have like big opportunities. We have the new wave of AI tools powering all steps of product management and product development. And so assessing, testing, deploying AI tooling to boost productivity and to do more is like a big priority for us. In this track, we also think of how to upskill our teams, with dedicated training, best practice sharing, etc. To just give you one recent example of an area of work, we wanted to solidify our, approach to product discovery. I'm sure that we face or product managers face this challenge, like they're asked to deliver fast, and the time spent on delivery is not necessarily well understood by stakeholders, valued, etc. So we wanted to work on that and structure a bit the discovery aspect. So generally speaking, but product operations today is really at the cornerstone, of the end-to-end product delivery. Right. Next slide. So I was talking about being at the cornerstone, and actually, so yeah, the way we position the team today is really at an intersection. Um, we are like we are sometimes called like a glue, We are connectors across a variety of teams, It's sometimes I feel like if we are like in charge of APIs, between all teams. And this helicopter view is very precious, like to drive end-to-end alignment. And it clearly allows us, not to be biased, and we think Criteo first for sure. But it can also be sometimes overwhelming. It comes with challenges because in such pivotal position, you deal with massive amount of information, massive amount of asks, question. You play this, buffer role between, teams. You can be also perceived as a bit the bad cop. You hold people accountable. You're like, the timekeeper, etc. You look at ETS. You look at, deliverables, etc. So that's for the positioning really of the team in our organization today. So what made us successful? That's on the next one. So here there are like many items listed. I'm gonna call out like three aspects specifically. I think one is a people topic. Hiring, coaching, developing people and team members is critical. Like the time you spend here, to me, is really an investment. I've always invested a lot here in people. I'm not necessarily talking about admin, processes. I'm more talking about hiring the right person for the role, promoting the right behavior, coaching, take the time to give feedback, to help people to grow, etc. is super important. And to the point that is here on the slides, if you want like strong program managers, you need not to hire only like smart people, etc. I would say that the prerequisite is to be a good project or program manager, and curious about product management. And one key quality is the ability to drive. It's extremely important to be able to be comfortable challenging the status quo, driving a conversation to a given outcome, etc. That was the first aspect I wanted to cover. The second one is we always have to drive changes in product operations at Criteo, and I think everywhere in like a more strategic project managers team. Like in everything we do, defining the right approach, the right governance, the right process, it's never the most challenging piece. Okay. The most challenging piece is to get people to adopt the change. And I don't think that I have like deployed anything that got at the beginning like 100% buy-in from like all stakeholders. Like this almost, I think, never happens. You have to acknowledge that it requires a lot of humility. It requires to be open and to act on feedback. And most importantly, it requires to bring the right people from the beginning in a given initiative or project. And I've learned that the hard way many times. The piece of work is good, it makes sense, but it's not so successful because a given team or a given person have not been looped in from the beginning at the right moment, etc., etc. And so, if you want to be impactful, you have to invest in change management. It's like a critical topic. The third thing I would mention in what made us having successful is about developing, the product expertise. I think I mentioned that earlier in the presentation. So you have like strong project program managers, great, but product operations today is not a team of generic project managers or being strong in project management is a prerequisite. What we had, we had, I would say, an immense value to the role when we understand the connection between product, industry, clients, etc. And so I'm a strong believer in the fact that we have to develop a domain expertise to add the most value in the role. So that was like a three main lessons I wanted to share here. And we are reaching the last slide, I believe. So I want to continue. Yeah, the journey continues. So we are reaching, the end of this presentation. The journey continues for Product Ops at Criteo. I've spent 10 years in this company. I'm still very passionate. The team has reached a certain level of maturity, but we keep questioning and always evolving, with the business. And we've just closed. So I should have updated the first bullet. We've just closed the latest recruitment for 2025. But I believe that we will continue to grow, in the coming 12 to 18 months. We have like big priorities for the coming 12 months. I can mention quickly, we want really to level up our game in product excellence. This track in the team that I've mentioned at the beginning, where we want to invest more on. We want to boost really clearly PM workflows with AI tools, etc. We want to evolve how we do long-term planning, better categorizing what's in discovery versus in build, reading roadmap, delivery. and align how we operate internally, according to that. And of course, we want to, continue building and developing the team. Like we have newcomers that joined, recently that we want to onboard. We want to rethink regularly how we, organize ourselves to deliver with, minimum friction, etc., and to keep, the very collaborative mindset that we have in the team. So bottom line, we continue to build, we continue to develop the team and function to make even more impact. Thank you for like your attention. I was glad like to speak here today. I hope that you have questions. I think that probably some of the things that I've mentioned like triggered some ideas or like questions. So let's open the floor, I guess.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Timothy, for sharing your journey and how your teams are evolving at Criteo. So I think now it's the time to hear from all our audience and to start the conversation. So we already have some questions in the Q&A. I'm just going to ask if any one of these Sarah, Peter, Lucy, Corinne are each. Does any one of you want to ask your question live to Timothy? If so, please raise your hand. And okay, we have Peter. Let's go, Peter. Let me just see. How can I unmute you? I never know. Apologies. Let me just stop sharing my screen. Share. Okay. Hi, Peter.
Hello. I think I can turn my camera on so you just have to listen to my voice. So in an application process, I had a conversation with your director of one of your directors of design, and I understood that like in parallel to the product ops team, there was a design ops team that sort of was experimental, then failed and was restarted. And I have nothing against that. Like business experiments are good. I just wondered if the product ops team had any barriers that they had to overcome to come out again strong.
It's an interesting one. Thanks for asking, Peter. It's a discussion we had with the head of of design actually. I think that that's the thing about these operations, title or etiquette. It can mean a lot of different things, and I think that when it came to design operations, I think that the role was actually very different from the way we are actually building and scaling product operations. And we collaborate like clearly specifically on product excellence track, and we will have like more and more synergies. But it was like yeah, discussion that we had. Did I answer your question, or did you have like something else in mind, Peter?
No, you say that like the definition of the design ops may have been wrong first, and now there's a more aligned definition, or that's what I'm reading in between the line. And
Yeah, maybe so on that. I'm not sure because I was not necessarily part of like the V1 and V2, but I'm more talking about, generally speaking, the design operations function as something that I think we have synergies with, but different role, specifically here at Criteo. So yeah.
okay. I'm still curious if there were any like barriers that the product ops team had to overcome, similar to like design ops having a false start. Was there anything that the product ops team sort of discovered that they needed to change their ways to
Ah,
become more successful?
okay. a lot. Like every day, I think that we think that we need to change and do something better. If I had to give you one important example, maybe related to the planning. I think that we started the way we start. I think that I would say that the planning specifically, the first pillar I was mentioning at the beginning of the presentation, when you have to, define product strategy, the roadmap that is a translation of the strategy and align with, R&D in terms of capacity planning, align with internal functions, etc. I think that here is really one piece where we had to really iterate year after year to have something that works. I don't think there's one recipe actually on building roadmap that is true and can work in different companies. I think that you have like some pieces that you can learn from. But generally speaking, I think that required a lot of alignment with each of the team stakeholders of the overall roadmap planning. And that's basic. I would say that's the area where really we had to iterate more and more. No really V1 or V2 of product operations to the point on design ops, but one area where probably we had to question ourselves a lot. Really.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate the vulnerability.
Thank you, Peter, for asking your question. So we have a few more. I'm going to read Sarah ones. So Sarah is asking, can you provide a bit more context into your team's role in the strategic alignment initiatives? How do you share roles and responsibilities with product managers when it comes to AOPs and roadmap creation?
It's a super good question. That
I know.
is quite open. I think that we've tested different approaches in terms of RACI, DACI, etc. And to try to be specific on what we expect from the different roles at every step of the process. And I think that the distinction between being a project or a program manager versus being a product manager sometimes can you can think it can overlap on some projects, etc. But yeah, always something you need to be careful. I think the way we've managed that was with like some frameworks on the product life cycle, like setting clear DACs, setting clear RACs, etc. Does that answer a bit the question?
I hope so, Sarah. If you want to drop something in the chat, feel free to.
It does.
Oh,
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for joining and for your question. So let's move to the next one. So Lucy is asking, first thanks for your talk. And she's asking, does your team actually create the strategy or does it facilitate others to create it? And who else do you work with on it?
Good one. We don't create a strategy. We don't create the roadmap. We need to enable owners and people owning the product strategy, and that's the head of a given product, owning its product strategy, its product roadmap, etc., etc. So there's a variety of people, of course, like that plays a super critical role, like that you have sponsors, you have like the commercial leadership that will provide priorities, etc. But yeah, that's.
hope that.
Yeah, I mean that's a clear split that we have. Like we are enablers, we facilitate, we set up, we create the conditions, I would say, for that to
Mhm.
happen. And that means also that we need to actually understand, ins and outs and what we do and the discussions so that we can, push the ball forward. But yeah, we make sure that this distinction is clear.
Thank you, Lucy. I hope that answers your question. She dropped a note in the chat, so yeah. Okay, so next one, Corinne is asking, I'm stepping into a role at a company, building a new product org. It's a 20-year-old company that has never had product manager before a year ago in a product ops function. So any advice on the most important things to do and problems to solve early in a new product ops function?
So the product ops here function has to define the product organization. That's
So
setting up the product organization, I think, at the
yeah,
beginning.
so she's right now setting the product ops function in this 20-year-old company.
Okay.
So new product org company.
Oh, I think that there's clearly, I would say like that, I would say invest on education. Like what is product management? I think there are many companies that are not actually not so clear about, what is product management versus we call, IT projects, and I would say that setting up a new product and or product operations function in a company, I think that you need to invest a lot, probably at first on education, and that would be my. I think on the things that I was mentioning on success factors. I think that's change management clearly, and that is super important.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Happy to chat further with this person, as a separate discussion.
Yeah, I'm seeing that Corinne is not here anymore, but we can follow up with her later, and I'm happy to introduce you both. Okay, so next one is from Clea. Clea is asking, I'm curious about the early days of product ops in Criteo. How did you prove the value of the product ops then? And any tips to share for new product ops teams of one?
I think so. It's a really good one. I think that at the beginning. So if you remember, I started as a chief of staff for the chief product officer, and so I've started the function with a very clear sponsorship from the CPO. And so I think that it helped clearly in terms of recognition, but more at the LT level. Like you could clearly understand and perceive the value of product ops by from his perspective, like the chief product officer at LT level, because we were like a small team, super agile, and working only on more high profile topics. And I think that is also one of the risks and one of the challenge that we actually face that I didn't mention is that you also need to, work for the entire organization and drive value, not only by, closing specific complex topic for the leadership, but also, driving changes for the overall organization and proving the value, to all teams. So yeah, that's basically what I'd say, that the challenge we had we were facilitated at the beginning of proving the value at sponsorship level, but we actually need to prove the value at like all level of the organization. And usually maybe it's a bit more you come from the bottom. We were like a bit probably more from the top, and we had to prove the value like at top down.
Okay, thank you. I hope this answers your question, Clea. And okay, let's move to we still have some. So let's move to this question from Kamal. When you say context beats theory, can you think of any examples in your journey when theory was not helpful? And how do you make a decision whether to trust context or theory?
So one thing I can mention is usually, if you look at all these, product management book, it gives you, assumptions for like a given framework or methodology that would rely on a given organization.
Mhm.
The thing is that if you don't have exactly this type of organization in your company, you're like, okay, how do I actually apply the same thing? And potentially it won't work. Potentially, having I don't know, typically you can have like a very strong, tech culture in products. And so you don't necessarily need, a product owner role because your product managers will interface themselves with devs or whatever. So you have like I think there's a lot of criteria to consider on not applying just by the book a given thing.
Thanks.
Sorry, Kamal, go ahead.
Yeah, this is helpful. Thanks. Is there any case where you feel like theory was also helpful or theory was helpful over context? Like, how do you make a decision when to trust what? Like, is it always the context in your gut?
Sorry, can you repeat your question, Kamal, please?
I was asking, how do you make? So, is it always that you trust your context over theory? I mean, I can understand that your context can vary and
Yeah.
theory can not always be the same. But are there any cases where like, is that always the case that you trust context, or how do you make that decision? Like, whether I should trust my
Yeah.
context, I should go by the books.
It's I mean, really, yeah, makes sense. I think the experience is needed, here. Like you make mistakes. Like of course, I mean, it's a question of judging, given situation. And I think that you make mistakes, and as you grow and accumulate experience, the intuition and the examples of failures will give you the capability to make the right decision. I think that there's on that. I think it's a good question. I tend to think that there's no shortcut for experience sometimes on this type of topic. What's sure is that I think you need to know the like theory. In product operations, knowing product management, methodologies and frameworks, etc. And it's absolutely critical. It gives you a credibility, as well, to drive changes internally. But yeah, you need to. I think it's just important to be super humble, like to have really a lot of humility, and you start with basically the by the book thing, and you bring it, you bring it to your context, and you try to think of the different implications. If it's something that you would need just to adapt a bit or customize, or if it's something that actually won't work at all. I'm used to socialize a lot actually, when I have like a given topic or framework I'm thinking about, and to actually like bring it and test, proof it in discussions with product managers, head of product design, R&D, etc. It's super important. It has to be iterative.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you both. Okay, we have another question, this time from Jacek. I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong. So you've mentioned not owning processes, but enabling others. I can imagine this means not owning the execution of process in order to build accountability across the stakeholder group. And what about the iterations of the processes? Where do you set the line between the facilitation and the ownership of process iterations?
That makes me think of the question on, the boundary between being like the project manager or program manager role versus, the product manager. How do you set the build boundary? It's trying to think of something a bit concrete and tangible, actually, to give you. I think generally speaking, like a project manager, again, I think that it's about creating conditions and setting expectations, setting the cadence. This is the program manager role. Giving answers is the product manager role. Giving the building the actual content. What is the roadmap? On our sites, if I take like typically the product roadmap planning example, we can make connections between like different initiatives and facilitate that. Think of, okay, I know that this thing will have an impact on this team owning this component, etc. So we would like create those connections and facilitate. We would like communicate a lot about the sequence of building the roadmap, etc. But in the end, the person who's supposed to like define what has to be, what are the objectives, what is the ambition for the product, what are the KPIs, where do we want to go, etc. Like it's not the program manager. And I think it's like it's some. I feel like I'm stating a bit the obvious here, but that's the way I perceive it. Now, I think we all experience in like project or program manager community this challenge of being asked to compensate sometimes for some functions, and or do an extra mile that maybe is not exactly, perfectly, in our scope of work. I think it's what makes also this, program manager or challenging, generally speaking, and also exciting. So I hope that I've answered the question. I'm like. It's a very interesting exercise actually to hear and answer question in live, because you need to think of something that is relatable in your experience and not always easy. But thank you everyone for like bringing those. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, and thank you for enabling this, Timothée. I know that sometimes it's not easy to be quick in answering live. I think we have time for one more question before we wrap up. So, and apologies for not addressing all of this. So I will choose this from Christy. You mentioned adapting as you scale. What are some indicators you've seen that processes are too rigid and need more flexibility while you scale?
The number of complaints per day from the process stakeholders. I think that you need definitely to listen. As soon as you implement something new, I think you have a period of time during which you have absolutely to be very receptive to feedback and comments yeah, just make sure that you have some sort of ongoing like a improvement loop, I would say, in place to be able to adjust something that can be too rigid or too flexible, etc. The second part of my answer would be to say that I think if you do something a bit too rigid, usually you have people that will tell you that it's too rigid. If you make it too flexible, you will have people telling you that it's more flexible. So you will have actually to make the call yourself. Definitely, there are like a variety of ways, I think, to do it. I have my internal council, of people I know will bring me, will help me, seeing what's critical in a variety of feedback. It's an advice I can give is to like create your own pool as well of like champions of or any council so you can rely on for this type of things. People will be objective, etc.
Yeah, I love that concept of your own council. We have heard about this as well in a previous meetup with another speaker, so I love that. So I think we are almost on time, so maybe I will wrap up now. Let me just share my screen quickly. Thank you all, and thank you especially to our guest speaker from today. Thank you, Tim, for sharing your experiences and tips. So if you guys want to connect with Tim and continue the conversation, you can connect with him on LinkedIn. Leah is going to drop the link in the chat. And we also have this Product Ops playbook from our sponsor, Dragonboat, which is also super useful if you want to scale your Product Ops function and teams just like Tim. So I think that's a wrap. Thanks again for joining us today, and special thank you to Timothée. So if you want to stay connected, please join us in Slack, and maybe I will see you all in our next event. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.